As If Some Little Arctic Flower by Emily Dickinson. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. As if some little Arctic flower upon the polar hem went wandering down the latitudes until it puzzled came to continents of summer, to firmaments of sun, to strange bright crowds of flowers and birds of foreign tongue. I say, as if this little flower to Eden wandered in. What then? Why, nothing only, your inference therefrom. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Atlanta by Thomas Chivers. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. April 26, 2025. Atlanta, or the true blessed island of poesy. Nay, has not the Atlantis, or true blessed island of poesy, been, in all times, understood to lie westward, though never rightly discovered till now? Carlyle. Arise, O north wind, and blow thou south upon my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out. Solomon's Songs. Lustrum the first. Count Julian loved Ianthe well. She was the fairest maid in all the sunny south, the summer south, where there are many fair, the only damsel in her father's house, a farmer's daughter, beautiful as pure, living in all the rich simplicity of cottage life alone among the flowers, a fairer flower herself, called by her sire Ianthe, lily of the land of love. For in the halcyon days of youth they met, by instinct, like two doves in harvest time. Mating they knew not how, loving they knew not why, but still they came together, still they loved, like two fond doves in mating time, building upon the basis of their love all hopes of joy on earth, all bliss in heaven. Ianthe was the playmate of his youth, a lily on the emerald lea of life, whose saintly petals were not open quiet when he beheld her first dawn in God's smiles, but when the bud of her pure youth began first to unfold itself to heaven, then were the snow-white petals of her lily limbs unfolded gently to his rapturous gaze, disclosing to his soul her inmost heart, lavishing upon him with excess of joy the virgin redolence of purest love. Her goodness was as boundless as the heavens, because her love was infinite, for all pure love is infinite, knows no decay, in being lavished out upon the loved, because it is the image of God's love, which knows no diminution in its depths, by being lavished out upon all worlds. But old Lamora, Miko of his tribe, a wild Ulysses, bender of the bow, leader of mighty men to fruitless war, from Ustanala to the Chastity, where Tallapoosa rolls her mountain rills, from old Akota's holy land above, to Withlacoochie's silver vale below. So long the white man's friend became his foe. The tomahawk was now dug up again from rusting underneath the tree of peace, and old Lamora swore never again to smoke the calumet of peace with man. The dove began to feel the hawk was nigh. The white swan from the silver lake came back again with blood upon her snowy wings, and never came the angel of sweet peace to wipe it off until Lamora left his native land for lands beyond the sea. This old Lamora had two sons, both brave, but his Yamasa, eagle of his heart, the elder loved the better of the two, because he was the white man's foe. For many times Lamora, in his ire, would fling the white man's children in the air, and catch them falling on his pointed knife. One day, when he was doing this, he saw one smile, with his blue laughing eyes right in his face, and from that fatal hour until his death, he never smiled, but hell raged in his heart, feeding upon his soul forevermore, a vulture that could never have enough, but ever famished like the hungry grave, fed on, forever hungry, never full. So, to relieve his burning thirst for blood, the eternal hell that raged within his heart, he swore eternal vengeance on the whites. So to the Cusco Villa's vale he went, against great Simagin, his father's foe, panting like hellhounds for the white man's blood. They fought, his tribe was slain every man, except his son Yamasa, he alone, escaped, was taken captive in the fight, bound fast in chains, borne from the field, back to the white man's tents where he had slain the innocent children, where he lay confined, in heavy chains, waiting his awful doom. So old Lamora, to avenge his death, went at the midnight hour, with torch in hand, and fired the old man's house, that good old man. And as they fled, escaping from the flames, he caught his young moon daughter in his arms, and bore her swift away with him, away, to some far distant land unknown to man, for never tidings came of where he went, leaving young Julian mourning for her loss, mourning that he could never more behold the beauty of her angel face, nor drink delight again out of her heavenly smiles, wherein his soul had sunned itself to peace. She was the virgin of the first fond love, who lay upon his bosom like the swan upon clear waters, while his soul grew white, to image back her form, the very first that made him see the young hind in his dreams. Now, in the springtime of the year, when all things show their love to God, the birds show theirs, the earth expressed in syllables of flowers, her love, which is the poetry of earth, sweet syllables of rarest redolence, while sitting in her bower of bliss one day, wooed by the odorous winds which played around her brow of living pearl, with downy touch, soft as caresses from some angel's hand, she saw two doves, the mother with her mate, building their nest low in a cedar tree. Long did she watch them there, until the nest was built, wherein the mother sat, from day to day, until she laid two little eggs. When Ostini, Lamora's living son, from jealousy, because she watched them so, watched anything but his dark ugly face, drew forth his locust bow and shot them dead. So after this, one day, when he was gone, she clomb up to the nest, took out the eggs, and with her lily snow-white hand placed them, with love-like innocence and heavenly nest, between the oval apples of her breast, wherein they nestled in divine content, until they hatched two little doves, snow-white, caught from the fair complexion of her breast, which ministered not only vitalizing warmth, but gave, with her maternal tenderness, a parent's angel nature to them like her own, making them meeker than the other birds, because their angel mother was more meek, which she caressed until they both were grown. So, one day, while she sat within her bower, alone, unwatched by Ostini, who would not let her rest by day nor night, for his exceeding love for her, she wrote upon white satin with her own heart's blood, and tied it to the snow-white pigeon's wing, and, whispering angel's language in its ear, language of purest love, as it now sate, perched on the snow-white bough of her soft arm, fluttering its saintly wings with joy to hear the amorous tidings she conveyed to it. She bade it fly to her dear Julian's bower, and instantly, instinct with all her love, as instinct with the knowledge of the way, unknown, untravelled through the pathless air, up from the bough of her soft arm it rose, not by its absence lonely left, but clothed with such celestial fairness that it seemed a living heaven of many suppliant doves, a living, swift-winged ship, full-sailed, with God-directed instinct for the gale, like some pure virgin soul at death to heaven, and bent its flight swift for her Julian's bower. 3 hours, with swift unerring wing it flew, and at the 4th anchored her rosy feet, love-laden in the harbour of his hand, rapt with surprise, with wonder more than new, to see such heavenly messenger on earth, fluttering so tamely on his tremulous arm. Thinking it was Ianthe's soul from heaven, he took the satin letter from its wings, the soft, love-laden letter, which he read, thrilling with tears of pure ecstatic joy, which after kissing many thousand times, kissing the saintly messenger as oft as tame as love in its own mistress's heart, pressing it, fluttering to his panting breast, he placed it in his bosom near his heart, and sitting down upon the moss-clad rock, beside the spring where he was waiting now, waiting to hear some tidings of his love, he wrote on paper of the purest silk, then fastening his sweet answer to its wing, brimful of love, returned it back again, and straightway started for St. Mary's Lake, Lustrum II, beneath an aged oak whose 100 arms were lifted up, as in mute prayer, to God, silvered with many 100 years, whose locks, of argent moss hung waving to the ground, fringing the margin of that inland sea, jeweled with myriad multicolored shells. Prone on the silver sand, alone, the last of all his tribe, the chief Lamora sat. Beside him lay his bow upon the ground. Upon his back the well-stored quiver hung. His great Herculean form was clad in skins, fantastically fringed with down of swans, and ornamented with the rarest beads. His feet were sandaled with red moccasins. His wampum belt was fastened round his waist. An eagle plume crested his head, which waved aloft, swayed by the odorous winds which came, laden with perfumes from the Isle of Flowers. An emblem of his mighty heart now free. Close to his ear, in his right hand, he held a rose-tipped shell, which sung mysterious songs, and soothed his weary soul to peace, for in its soft aeolian cadences it seemed the soul of his Yamasa, his dead son, come back to lead him to the land of souls. Long did he thus apply it to his ear, listening, entranced, with mute response to hear, as if his soul found music in its song. For often have the souls of mighty men come back at midnight to their native land, to rest by moonlight in the ruby bells. Wrapped with the sense of its sweet melody, he lost all memory of his native isle, forgetting all things in the living world, remembering nothing but his own deep joy, born of his memory of the olden time, in days gone by, when he was in his prime, and young Yamasa was his son on earth. Long held he thus the shell unto his ear, until the tears in one clear stream profuse, of briny dew, born of the ever deep, and fiery joy that revelled in his heart, gushed down in torrents on his high cheekbone, the rugged highway of his burning thoughts, like some clear stream rushing at noon, from the red bosom of the ochre hills, through the warm valleys of the summer south, singing of childhood in its happiness. Beneath this Jupiterian oak, the pride of Pan, he sate him down, where he had sunk to silence on that day, far from the gardens of his Eden Isle, from which there came perfumes floating on the breeze, making delicious all the air around. Close by his rustic boat, whose tapering prow lay moored supine upon the pebbly beach, the golden cloud, like couches of the blessed, like that which Israel out of Egypt led, in dreary languor lay in mountain piles, halfway to heaven, sweet dreams of days well spent, like beauty sleeping on the breast of love, while far beyond, the binding heaven serene looked down upon the abject world at rest, rolling beneath the singing stars, the choir of God's great universe, the azure vault, resounding with the everlasting song of man's great heart, the music of the storms, great ocean's loud, sonorous, troublous voice, and the eternal voices of the stars. For 3 long fallings of the leaf, with 4 moons more, had he been living on this isle. For 3 long fallings of the leaf had he been free from all mankind, from all his foes, from all things save the perfect peace he sought, the presence of his God, whose voice he heard, in thunders of the storms, the only thing he feared or felt superior to his soul. Then came young Julian to the great old chief, dressed in the garb that young Yamasa wore, when he was taken captive in the fight, but whom Lamora thought was dead. He knew, at every falling of the leaf, the old man came, from some far distant land unknown to man, like spirits from the dead to those they love, to strew rich coral on his father's grave, and pray beside him while he wept. So, when Lamora saw him in his own son's garb, he ran to meet him from the silver sand, where he sat musing by the lonely lake. For long had he been waiting there to see some stranger in the person of his son, and rushing with impatient speed fell on the breast of Julian, crying out, my son, Yamasa, is it you, my son? Hast thou returned from death, the land of souls? Thy face is pale, thou hast the white man's face. Yamasa, is it you? Can death do this? Or has Manito sent thee here to mock my soul by giving thee the white man's face? I hate thy face, hate it as I do hell. Speak to my soul, Yamasa, speak, my son. "Father," said Julian, "I am thine own son. All souls are pale-face in the land of souls. Where is my mother, brother Ostini, Saluda, that young dove, the white man's child, the lily that Yamasa loved so well?" When thus Lamora cried aloud again, "Art thou my son? This is his wampum belt. This is his bow. This is his quiver here. These are the garments that he wore when slain." "Father," said Julian, "I am thine own son. All souls are pale-face in the land of souls." Then loud Lamora cried, "This is my son, Yamasa from the land of souls, come home." Then on the silver shining level lake, stretched out in measureless expanse beneath, the snowy splendors of the full-orbed moon, that, though the silvered quiet of the night, came down to smile thereon with matron joy, like some fond mother on her infant child, lying there couched in dreamless sweet repose, low in the cradle of the rolling world, they both embarked in their divine canoe. For now, beneath her angel smiles they lay, like some great happy soul in prayer to God, naked before high heaven, stretched out upon his deathbed, while around his lightning soul, drawing God-loving strength from pious prayer, angels invisible to all besides, in shining garments minister to him. So, in their crescent-like canoe, all night, unfettered from the pebbly breath, with one lone oar, worked by Lamora's brawny arms, they ploughed, leaving no track behind of who sailed there, for after years, should any seek to find the level field of waters till the dawn. For as the dawn broke slowly in the east, withering the moon into the light of heaven, afar off in the bosom of the lake, tinged with the radiance of the rising sun, all golden in the temple of the morn, looking like some great sea of molten gold, like some great emerald mountain rising up, they saw the Eden Isle burst on their sight. The hills, like some great caravan encamped, at noontide, on the desert of the world, still billows of the world's great tearing sea, as if they were the mighty graves of gods. The rising stepstones to the deity, bristled with lofty pines, that in the distance looked like mystic moss covering their purple backs. Spread out in undulating lines afar, were deluged with rich radiance as they lay, propping the thunderclouds of heaven beneath, the golden glory of the springing sun, rising in such imperial pomp from out the emerald splendor of the eastern sea, flooding with his great seraph splendor all the cavalcade of golden glory clouds that rolled in lofty mountain piles on high, like incense from an altar up to God, or that great ladder Jacob saw at night on Bethel plain, reaching from earth to heaven, pavilioning his glory, while to the right, as they rode on, nearing this blessed isle, a flock of wild swans from the jasper reeds, with sidelong wings, rose up, darkening the sun, whose clamorous shouts, redoubled by the hills, filled the wide heavens with jubilations loud, and after circling on their snowy wings, glinting the glory of the golden sun, checkering the lake with moving shadows, down they all descended, with seraphic sail, on moveless wings, upon the lake again, like living pearl, or angels out of heaven, far out of reach of farthest shot of man, floating among the reeds in jocund joy, upon the sand, close by the water's edge, where smote their little boat upon the shore. Clusters of luscious grapes were scattered round, in prodigal profusion on the ground, and ebon muscadines of lustrous black, like drops of polished night, weighed down their vines, so that the cool lips of the crystal wave, swayed by the presence of the noontide breeze, lapped them with liquid kisses from the shore, till they went dangling far away from land, like little ebon barks upon the lake. So, as he wandered through the Isle of Flowers, he saw Ianthe like the crescent moon, cloudless in heaven, in her own beauty clad, as glorious to the isle as she tonight, the angel of the place, the joy of life, swimming about through all the placid lake, drawn by two silver swans together yoked, like some fair naiad in her native stream, while from the emerald alleys crowned with flowers, born from the bosom of the oval hills, replenishing the treasures of the lake with waters pure, and serpentine soft flow. A liquid music came from all the streams, rising up, odor-like, around her form, from out the bosom of the limpid lake, soothing her sighing soul to heavenly peace. This was the music of celestial love, speaking in mystic language to her soul, sweet as the choral symphony of stars, or heavenly harmony of the Pleiades. A lily among lilies throned she lay, lolling upon the hyaline lake alone, when, suddenly, alarmed at his approach, thinking that Ostiny had come again to mar her rich felicity, she rose, when from her lily limbs, fair as the moon, to young Endymion on the Carian mount, the soft pellucid waves and beaded dews, made odorous by the sweetness of her form, trickled in amorous showers like dewy rain, wept by the evening's azure eyes from out the snow-white petals of some lily bell. So rose she from the bosom of the lake, like bright Nyetha from her Seius throne, or Rhodope the beautiful from out the eternal pyramid so dewy bright. Like lily in the morning sun she looked, like Venus when she rose up from the sea, wafted by zephyrs to the Cyprian isle, where all the seasons waited with delight, with open arms to welcome her on shore. So stood his soul to welcome her to bliss. Mild as an incarnation of the moon, she rose as pure in her own innocence, as thought encircled truth from out the soul of him who contemplates the works of God, in silent adoration like that boy, the Grecian god of silence clothed in light, half risen from the mystic lotus flower, as graceful as that Abyssinian tree, bending before the face of him who seeks its shade, her coral chaplet on her brow, the ebon cross that Julian gave to her, with Via Caeli written on its front, in rich mosaic of pure gold, with chain of virgin gold suspended round her neck. The lute-like voices of the Dryades, hid in the willows weeping on the lake, in mystic sweetness, hailed her as she rose. Thus looked she, when she first arose, to him, for as the Grecian sculptor gazed with joy ineffable upon his matchless work of art, the rich embodiment of all his dreams, of infinite perfection, so he gazed, enraptured, on the naked loveliness of that bright beauty, shrined in all her rich perfections in the hyaline lake alone, whose soft pellucid sparkles rippled round the white isle of her heavenly form, as if, reluctant now to lose so soon so much of heavenly loveliness on earth, which she, perceiving, conscious of her innocence, now hid her face, blushing with purest shame, which he observing, rapt with perfect joy, with manly modesty, retired a while, behind the moss-clad rock which stood upon the margin of the lake, from which he watched her all unseen, then, turning round, with half averted face, to see if he were gone, her eyelids drooping on her violet eyes, she made her naiad-like retreat out at the other side, heaving the sighing lake, sighing that it should lose so much of heaven, while from the opening rosebud of her form, and delicate freshness of divinest youth, an amorous odor came of virgin love, authorial in its redolence divine, which Edened all the isle. Then, snatching up her snow-white zone from off the shore, she fled into the neighboring bower, where, all alone, seen only by the blushing flowers that kissed, with their delicious amorous odorous lips, her more delicious amorous odorous form, a fairer flower herself, she clad herself, or, rather, she was by the Graces clad. The robe she wore was made of down of swans, the sandals of her delicate feet were black, made by the moire of the roebuck skin, both jeweled from the instep to the toes, but multicolored beads of various shapes, the languid quarters folded down below, her oval instep, snowy white, were gemmed, with varicolored beads profusely placed. 3 rows of beads different from all the rest, but beads of different kinds in every row. The cap she wore was lined with down of swans, and plumed with feathers from the heron's wing, and rare flamingos, tipped with down of doves. Her hair, in one rich flood of wavy gold, poured down upon her alabaster neck, like rays of morning light, unshorn by clouds, upon some far-off hill of virgin snow, upon her lily finger, emblem of her truth, in memory of the man she loved, she wore the jeweled ring that Julian gave to her before they parted, long before the great Lamora Miko of his tribe stole her away to wander on this blessed isle. Beside her stood her dappled fawn, whose head, of delicate shape, was lifted high above, its shoulder now in princely pride, whereon, in graceful carelessness, her lily hand, of rosy white, like lilies in the sun, was placed caressingly, whose touch did seem to tame it to the meekness of the lamb, and soothe its soul to peaceful human joy, while, with its golden sparkling eyes that burnt with the celestial light of one in love, two heavens of innocence meek as the dove, eyed its fond mother on the neighboring hill, cropping the velvet emerald moss that laced, with verdant sheen, the ponderous rocks around. Thus on its tapering limbs it mutely stood, with lustrous golden eyes and childlike joy, courting her blandishments for artless ease, and the soft soothings of her delicate hand, seeming in guileless joy, though standing still, an incarnation of most perfect peace, an instinct with the soul of swiftest flight. Its trumpet nostrils, lifted high in air, clear as the hollyhock when first in bloom, seemed scenting odors from the Isle of Balm. Its velvet skin, soft as the down of swans, was dappled with pure white on either side, and looked like petals of the snow-white pea on autumn's russet leaves dropped sparingly. Such was the plaything of her innocent youth, an emblem of herself, her sylph-like shape, all innocence, all truth, all love, as pure as heaven. The angel Dian of the isle, loved for its rare simplicity, its wild, untamable docility, which seemed an incarnation of swift liberty, the birth of motion ever to be born, for by the gentle wafture of her hand would it skip playfully from hill to hill, in wanton gambols various as the winds, then, after joyful vaultings in the air, printing the greensward with its silver feet, threshing out harvests of the new-blown flowers, till roses mixed with lilies made it seem like damask snow, an emblem of her cheeks, returned to her again like joy to love, delighted with the joy of giving joy, which she, with pensive smiles, returned again, by combing back with her soft lily hand the velvet down upon its tender skin, till, ravished with the fullest joy within, born of the sense of her magnetic touch, now growing weary of the glorious world, its languid lids fringed with the purest jet, tight closing over its bright golden eyes, would fall asleep standing there by her side. Thus would it sleep for hours, did she not call it with her soft sweet voice to wake again. For when she cried, "Gazelle," up it would jump, alive again, as if her voice had given to its new-wakened soul an angel's wings. But Julian soon arose from where he sat, impatient grown to gaze once more on heaven, on whose bright threshold he now seemed to stand, and hear the songs of seraphim within, and followed her to her sweet hiding-place, seeing him thus approach her sacred bower, blushing rich crimson as he entered in. With downcast eyes she turned away from him, and would have fled, had he not stayed her thus. "Me and thee, virgin Dian of this isle, worthy to be the queen of all the world, fairest of all the fair ones ever born, my morning star, my ever-new delight, my joy on earth, my hopes of bliss in heaven. Behold, it is your Julian clasps you now." "What, Julian, Julian, is this you? Oh, God! Is this my Julian, this my love, my heaven?" When Julian clasped her to his panting breast, glowing with rapture far too big for words, and that she looked so beautiful in tears, wept tears of perfect joy to see her weep, embracing her 10,000 times, in one long embrace of entwining love, prolonged till they seemed melted into one, she hanging, weeping, on his panting breast, panting like some sweet dove in mating time, her lily hands clasped firmly round his neck, the white sea of her bosom, passion stormed, beating in milky waves against his own, Such deep angelic love now filled her soul, it could not be expressed but by the aid of sorrow, Christian sister of pure joy. As if an angel now should weep because she was in heaven, had too much heavenly bliss. And when the rapture of divine delight had settled to the calmness of sweet peace, the quick, short breathings of deep joy were merged into the slow, sad sighings of content, printing her lovely lips with kisses pure, united now never to part again. Twined in each other's arms, they laid them down, couched upon swan down, where they spent, unseen, the whole night long in passion's amorous play, mingling their burning, rapturous souls in one, happy beyond all else that earth could give, till, sated with excess of heavenly bliss, consumed by their own fires, they fell asleep, nor woke again until the next day noon. Lustrum the Third. Within this temple's grand, magnificent nave, studding whatever variant hues the dome, myriads of crystals blazed, like diamond flowers, all hyaline, immortal in their bloom. A petrified parterre, bright as the palace home of genii in the realms of fairyland, columns of glittering granite, pillars high, of crimson porphyry, like trophies torn from mighty kings in battle for the world. Such was the splendor of the place when seen by torchlight, blazing now in glory bright, like fragments of pure beauty torn from out the burning stars, forever burning there, more beautiful than that delightful cave in the Hesperian land, where Saturn, with his people, spent the golden age in peace. For in this subterranean Vatican, were nature's most superior workmanship, the rich embodiment of myriad forms, expressed in crystals far surpassing all the richest statuary in the world, as if they were the leisure thoughts of gods, in emulation of some work divine, done by the maker of the world and heaven. Into this cave they went to live alone, Saluda bearing flowers to deck their couch, mantling their sweetness with the down of swans, where, on their rich pelisse of costly furs, garnished with beautiful prismatic pearls, they laid them down in one another's arms, she on his arm pillowing her tender head, gazing with pensive eyes into his face, revealing all her heavenly charms to him, to take their fill of sweet, voluptuous toil, where the crushed roses underneath their forms, in amorous play, exhaled such sweet perfume, that all the cave was filled with rosy clouds, like incense from an altar, till the place became like Eden in that heavenly hour, when Adam first cohabited with Eve. This feeling, old as death, ancient as life, with immemorial sweetness took entire possession of their raptured souls, until, exhausted by their amorous sport, now overcome by that sweet lassitude that earthly pleasure ever leaves behind, they sank, entwined in one another's arms, to sleep delicious as the sleep of him who dies knowing that he will go to heaven. For it was more secluded than that cave, where, fleeing persecution's fires, there slept, unseen by man, the Ephesian youths for years. So, on the morning when they woke again, they rose with hearts filled with the tenderest joy, and through the violet valley, arm in arm, went on, inhaling perfumes as they went, from twice 10,000 urns of fragrant flowers, into their labyrinthine bower of bliss, a sylvan, soft pavilion of pure joy, starred with 10,000 flowers of purest gold, with rich carnations, pansies, pinks, while through the emerald alleys softly came, from twice 10,000 birds of various dyes, poured forth rich gushes of ecstatic song, whose sweet jocundity went high as heaven. Celestial songs such as are heard in dreams. There sung the plaintive nightingale, that all night long beneath the vigils of the moon, whose pale, cold glory sitteth now in heaven, tinging with melancholy all the world, poured forth rich gushes of mellifluous wail to his sweet rose, whose thorn was in his heart, mourning her short-lived beauty all the while. In lamentation loud they heard him sing, and loved him for the sweetness of his song. Then on the moss-clad rock they sate them down, his languid head reclined upon her lap, pillowed on rich carnations, pansies, pinks, while with her snow-white hand, soft as the down that zones the cygnet's breast, She soothed his brow, counting his anxious sighings one by one, as on her open face, ringleted brow, bandowed with corals of the richest dyes, while pendants of pure pearl hung in her ears, smiles of ineffable sweetness passed, haunting his soul with heavenly peace, then like the dove upon her amorous mate, with pure sad pleasure, calm yet kindling eye, as mild as meekness in the hour of death, she gazed upon the face of him she loved, the rich inheritor of all her charms, because the only owner of her love, who from the saintly petals of her rose, of womanhood, had rifled all the sweets, opening to him with redolence divine, rivaling the budding beauty of the rose, such as no flower in Eden ever knew, going behind the veil of her sweet form, her holy of holies, there to live, her priest, her Levite, loved forevermore. Then, with the oil of violets, she bathed his manly brow, his dark, long raven locks, as he lay there in love's divine embrace, couched in her paradisial lap asleep, dreaming of newer bliss when he should wake. Then, with rose water, orange water pure, made by her own fair hands, she laved his limbs, until he seemed, anointed as he was, an incarnation of pure redolence. So, when he woke, she fed him with her own fair hands, on fruits plucked from the Eden trees, on golden luscious nectarines, apples, pears, and mangoes, yellow plums, delicious dates, conserve of roses mixed with damson cheese, and curd, made of the creamy milk of does, sweetened with sugar from the maple tree, sweeter than ringdove, turkey, or the swan, or softly macerated flesh of deer. The golden grapes hung clustering in the sun, oozing their luscious nectar on the ground, rare vintage ripe of rich deliciousness, tempting the soul to eat continually. Large orange trees that blossom while they bear, burthen with fruit of pure exquisiteness, like globes of vegetable gold on boughs, of lustrous emerald growing, flourish there, fruit of ambrosial richness fit for gods. Thus did she minister to his delight, in many other most delicious ways, soothing his appetite from day to day, on juleps, nectared fruits, delicious sweets, which, while they satisfied his appetite, brought not disease, but joyful, blooming health. So easy of digestion were they all, imbibed with so much joy from her fair hand, that even intemperate he was temperate. So, by anointing her sweet limbs each day with violet oil, when tired of amorous sport, she grew to be as nimble as the deer, for like the Persian virgins she now bathed her limbs for pure deliciousness of life, as for the cherishing of amorous joys. Thus did they bathe together in one stream, each to the other ministering delight, living upon the pure air of the isle, like Adam with his Eve in paradise, in perfect health, not thinking they could die. For in the golden age of their deep love, they felt they were immortal, could not die. There was no death could make her more divine, none could exalt him into higher bliss. The golden age is always in the world, to those who love, while things were gold to them. They saw beyond time's confines far away, into the golden portal of the skies, where bloomed the immortal amaranth of peace, which they now gathered from their mutual love. Therefore, they needed not to die to find a happier Eden than this blessed isle, this rich Atlanta of the sunny south, for in this Aphroditean isle they lived, a sinless pastoral life among the flowers, tending the fawns, living on rarest fruits, richer than any that were ever grown, and King Alcinous's garden, rich in fruits, like those Hesperian apples famed of old, guarded by no fierce dragon but pure love, in all the rich simplicity of truth, like Saturn with his people all their lives, thus realizing, here on earth, their dreams of heaven, while wandering on from bower to bower, through fair sylvan scenes of various view, whose undefiled perspective wooed the soul, through ever verdant lawns purple with time, bordered by ramparts of the richest groves, through emerald meadows damasked with rich flowers, meandered by soft crystal streams whose shores were graced down to the water's edge with flowers, adown whose serpentine soft flow met even the breezes with delicious coolness brought, an ocean of sweet odor to the soul, diffusing such vitality through all their veins. Celestial vigor filled their limbs, while in the eddying sinuosities, among the jasper reeds, all day were seen the milk-white swan winding his pliant neck around his amorous mate in constant joy, singing rich canticles of rapturous love. Thus did they realize the golden age, in all its luxury of natural pomp, interpreting the Pythagorean dream of man's perfectibility on earth. It was not sensual, but with mental love, that sweet Ianthe loved her Julian now, although that modified her spiritual love, giving such fervent rapture to her soul, but such as angels feel in loving God, or one another, pure celestial love, for in the angel meekness of her face, the melting tenderness of her blue eyes, he saw glimpses of that celestial state, where angels dwell in all their perfectness. With eyes upturned, swimming in tears of pure delight, they gazed upon the sylvan scene, in silent peace, filled with the joys of heaven, while, in the east, they saw the full-orbed moon, with mild resplendent luster, look from heaven, upon the mirror of the quiet lake that lay, like liquid silver, showing back in all its calm benignity her placid face, smiling on its original in heaven, even as Ianthe, in her body there, imaged the form that was to be above, for she was Julian's moon, and Endymion he, to her upon the carrion mount of time. Thus did they wander through the bower of bliss, as Eden-like as that sweet land of love, where, in perpetual pulchritude, now rove the souls of the departed of this world, encircling with cherubic choir the throne of Atiensic, clad in robes of light, now hastening to embrace with pure delight the long-lost objects of their earliest love, souls newly entered in the land of souls, dancing in concert to celestial song, never to die again, thus in the fields of immortality by living streams that never dry, where flowers forever grow, but never fade, where winter never comes, but where eternal spring forever reigns. Beyond that soft Lethean stream that rolls in solemn silence through the vale of death, under the grave, oblivious to the soul, the Indian thinks that after death the souls of the departed go to rove alway, amid the flowery lawns, soft dewy meads, all odoriferous with divine perfume, beside the summer seas, among their friends, who join each other in the happy chase, living in death as they have lived in life. So did Count Julian in his bower of bliss, beside the golden sanded streams that ran along the violet valley near the cave, whose crystal-fretted rich magnificence did emulate the glory of the sky, treading, as valueless, beneath his feet, rich rubies, amethysts, cornelian stones, bright garnets, jacinths, emeralds, almandines, take such divine voluptuous delight with his sweet ravishing Uri of the isle, that his lost paradise seemed now restored to him again with all its former joys, and they were two immortals living there, filled with the plenitudes of boundless bliss. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Carol by William Canton. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. When the herds were watching in the midnight chill, came a spotless lambkin from the heavenly hill. Snow was on the mountains, and the wind was cold, when from God's own garden dropped a rose of gold. When 'twas bitter winter, houseless and forlorn, in a starlit stable Christ the babe was born. Welcome, heavenly lambkin, welcome, golden rose, Alleluia, baby, in the swaddling clothes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Carol of the Russian Children, a Russian folk song, read for LibriVox.org by Loubet in New York City, December 2025. Snowbound mountains, snowbound valleys, snowbound plateaus clad in white, fur-robed mujiks, fur-robed nobles, fur-robed children see the light. Shaggy pony, shaggy oxen, gentle shepherds wait the light. Little Jesus, little mother, good Saint Joseph, come this night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Christmas Bells by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Christmas Bells. I heard the bells on Christmas Day their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And though how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men, till ringing, swinging on its way, the world revolved from night to day, a voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then from each black, accursed mouth the cannon thundered in the south, and with the sound the carols drowned of peace on earth, goodwill to men. It was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent, and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then peal the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain. Christmas Carol by James Park. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Christmas Carol. So crowded was the little town on the first Christmas day, tired Mary Mother laid her down to rest upon the hay. I would my door might have been thrown wide open on her way. But when the holy babe was born, in the deep hush of night, it seemed as if a Sabbath morn had come with sacred light. Child Jesus made the place forlorn with his own beauty bright. The manger rough was all his rest, the cattle, having fed, stood silent by, or closer pressed, and gravely wondered, ah, Lord, if only that my breast had cradled thee instead. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
The Curfew Song of England by Felicia Hemans. Read for LibriVox.org by Beeswaxcandle. Hark! From the dim church tower the deep slow curfews chime, a heavy sound unto hall and bower in England's olden time. Sadly 'twas heard by him who came from the fields of his toil at night, and who might not see his own hearth flame in his children's eyes make light. Sternly and sadly heard, as it quenched the wood fire's glow, which had cheered the board with the mirthful word and the red wine's foaming flow, until that sullen boding knell flung out from every fane on harp and lip and spirit fell with a weight and with a chain. Woe for the pilgrim then in the wild deer's forest far, no cottage lamp to the haunts of men might guide him as a star. And woe for him whose wakeful soul with lone aspirings filled would have lived o'er some immortal scroll while the sounds of earth were stilled. And yet a deeper woe for the watcher by the bed, where the fondly loved in pain lay low, in pain and sleepless dread. For the mother doomed unseen to keep by the dying babe her place, and to feel its flitting pulse and weep, yet not behold its face. Darkness in chieftain's hall, darkness in peasant's cot, while freedom under that shadowy pall sat mourning o'er her lot. O the fireside's peace we well may prize, for blood hath flowed like rain, poured forth to make sweet sanctuaries of England's homes again. Heap the Yule faggots high, till the red light fills the room. It is home's own hour when the stormy sky grows thick with evening gloom. Gather ye round the holy hearth, and by its gladdening blaze, unto thankful bliss we will change our mirth, with a thought of the olden days. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The End by D.H. Lawrence. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, December 2025. If I could have put you in my heart, if but I could have wrapped you in myself, how glad I should have been. And now the chart of memory unrolls again to me, the course of our journey here, before we had to part. And oh, that you had never been some of yourselves, my love, that some of your several faces I had never seen, and still they come before me, and they go, and I cry aloud in the moments that intervene. And oh, my love, as I rock for you tonight, and have not any longer any hope to heal the suffering or make requite for all your life of asking and despair, I own that some of me is dead tonight. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fox Tor by a Lady. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Fox Tor has always been connected by tradition with the death of John Child of Plymstock, or as he is generally called, Child the Hunter, a gentleman of considerable possessions, who while enjoying his favorite pastime, during an inclement season was benighted, lost his way, and perished through cold near Fox Tor. He had taken the precaution of killing his horse, and for the sake of warmth had crept into its bowels, leaving a paper denoting that whoever buried his body should have his lands at Plymstock. The first that finds and brings me to my grave, the lands of Plymstock they shall have. Having no children, he had previously declared his intention of bestowing his lands on the church wherein he should be buried. This coming to the knowledge of the monks at Tavistock, they eagerly seized the body and were conveying it to that place, when learning that some of the people of Plymstock were waiting at a ford to intercept them and seize the prey, they took another route, and ordering a bridge to be built out of the usual track, succeeded in their object and obtained possession of the lands. The bridge so built was named, from the circumstance, Guile Bridge. A tomb of hewn granite, with an octagonal base 3 feet high, and a cross fixed to it, was erected to his memory in a plain a little below Fox Tor, and is still called Child's Cross. Fox Tor, the death of Child the Hunter. Large flakes of snow were falling fast, before a chilling northern blast that pierced the traveller through, when mid the wilds of drear Dartmoor, near to the hill that's called Fox Tor, a horseman came in view. 'Twould seem he knew not where to go, he looked around and rode so slow, though like a hunter dressed. In green a sword was by his side, a sharp knife in his belt beside, a horn upon his breast. 'Twas Child of Plymstock, who that morn his home had left at early dawn to chase the fallow deer. Throughout the day, with hound and horn, till overtaken by this storm, he came benighted here. He'd lost his way, all hope was gone of finding it, night coming on, he knew to try was vain. Fatigue his horse had overcome, the cold intense, his hands so numb, he scarce could hold the rein. Dismounting, he the girths did slack, and took the saddle off the back of his now failing steed. Then something on a paper wrote, and quick across his horse's throat he drew his knife with speed. And while its life-blood ebbed away, embowelled it as there it lay, and crept himself in there, in hopes the carcass of his steed would save him in his hour of need from the inclement air. Thus each precaution did he take, and strove to keep himself awake, trusting all danger o'er. But numbness o'er him 'gan to creep, and gradually he sank to sleep, alas, to wake no more. Next day a shepherd came to explore, and searched about the snow-clad moor for sheep that went astray. During the storm, and looking round, he came to that same spot of ground where the dead hunter lay. He found the carcass of the horse, and looking closer saw the corpse of its dead master there. Seeing the paper near him lay, he took it, and without delay to Tavistock did repair. Vespers were o'er, and one by one the monks unto their cells were gone, for it was getting late. When lo, an unexpected noise the sleepy porter did arouse, a knocking at the gate. The porter hurried on his clothes, the abbey gate he did unclose to let the stranger in, who said, "The abbot I must see without delay, because that he may hear the news I bring." Across the court the porter sped, and roused the abbot from his bed, the peasant's tale to hear, who bade him usher in the man, and then go tell the sacristan to be in waiting near. The peasant entered, bowed his head, with reverence, as the abbot said, "What is this news, my son, you bring? Tell me that I may know. Something important 'tis, I trow." The peasant thus began. "Searching this morn for sheep astray, that in the storm of yesterday had wandered on the moor, not finding them, I still kept on, looking about, till nearly come close by to Fox's Tor. Searching around upon the ground, just at that spot I stumbled on the carcass of a horse. Its bowels out, and in their place a dead man lay. I knew the face, 'twas Child the hunter's corpse. Close by his side this paper lay, which I took up and brought away, making the utmost speed, thinking perhaps that it might be something that you might wish to see, at least might wish to read." He placed it in the abbot's hand, whose eyes, as quickly it was scanned, were beaming with delight, when having called the sacristan, he told him to refresh the man and lodge him for the night. Then loudly rang the abbot's bell, summoning the monks from every cell, some task to undertake. Soon they assembled in the room, with folded hands and eyes cast down, when thus the abbot spake. "Children," he said, "you all well know this duty to the church we owe, to ever keep in sight her interest, which if we can aid or promote by any plan, to do so will be right. I have just learnt that on the moor, frozen to death close by Fox Tor, a body has been found. 'Tis Child de Plymstock, so they say, who went out hunting yesterday, there lies upon the ground. Close by him was this paper laid. Now in my hand, where it is said, his Plymstock land shall go, to those who, when his body's found, bring it to consecrated ground, a burial to bestow. This we must do," the abbot said. "Go quickly, get a coffin made, to put the body in. Be ready by the break of day, the man will guide us on the way, who did this paper bring." The monks then with the utmost care and skill a coffin did prepare, and by the break of day a litter too they did provide, then with the peasant for their guide for Fox Tor took their way. Before they left, the abbot said, "A bridge directly must be made below the usual ford, by which men now the river cross, that will enable us to pass unseen by those above." Meantime the news to Plymstock flew, but how it reached there no one knew, at least there's none would say. Arming with partisan and sword, the townsmen hastened to the ford to intercept the prey. The wily abbot placed a scout that morning when they first set out, and bade him watch the ford, that should those come who might surprise, and try to rob them of their prize, to run and bring him word. The monks proceeded on their way, across the moor without delay, to where the corpse was found, which having coffined with great care, they placed it on the litter there, and quickly left the ground. Their homeward way was scarce begun, before a messenger did come in haste to bring them word, and tell them that the Plymstock men, all armed with sword and partisan, were waiting at the ford, where they intended to remain, to seize the corpse when there it came, and wrest it from their hands, by force of arms, which having done, to take it back to Plymstock town, and so secure the lands. The abbot smiled and shook his head. "Thanks for your news, my son," he said, then instant orders gave to change their route and turn aside to that part of the riverside where the new bridge was made, letting the Plymstock men remain to watch the ford, but watch in vain the monks their new route take. From fear of danger thus relieved, they crossed the river unperceived, and reached the abbey safe. Then burying child they did fulfill all the conditions of his will, and thus his lands obtained. The bridge by which they crossed the stream, and brought the body home unseen, was henceforth Guile Bridge named. A granite cross they did erect, close to the spot where cold in death the hunter had been found, which child's tomb or cross was named, and ever since that time retained through all the country round. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Good King Wenceslas by John Mason Neal. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Good King Wenceslas. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Hither, page, and stand by me, if you know it telling. Yonder peasant, who is he? Where and what his dwelling? Sire, he lives a goodly kence, underneath the mountain, right against the forest fence, by St. Agnes' fountain. Bring me food and bring me wine, bring me pine logs hither. You and I will see him dine, when we bear them thither. Page and monarch, forth they went together, through the cold wind's wild lament, and the bitter weather. Sire, the night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger. Fails my heart, I know not how, I can go no longer. Mark my footsteps, my good page, tread now in them boldly. You shall find the winter's rage freeze your blood less coldly. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. Heat was in the very sod which the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian men, be sure, while God's gifts possessing, you who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Hymn of Trust by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O love divine that stooped to share our sharpest pang, our bitterest tear, on thee we cast each earth-born care. We smile at pain while thou art near. Though long the weary way we tread, and sorrow crown each lingering year, no path we shun, no darkness dread, our hearts still whispering, thou art near. When drooping pleasure turns to grief, and trembling faith is changed to fear, the murmuring wind, the quivering leaf, shall softly tell us, thou art near. On thee we fling our burdening woe, O love divine, forever dear, content to suffer while we know, living and dying, thou art near. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Knighting of the Sirloin of Beef by Charles II. By Anon. Read for LibriVox.org. The second Charles of England rode forth one Christmas tide to hunt a gallant stag of 10 of Chingford woods the pride. The winds blew keen, the snow fell fast, and made for earth a pall, as tired steeds and wearied men returned to Friday Hall. The blazing logs piled on the dogs were pleasant to behold, and grateful was the steaming feast to hungry men and cold. With right good will all took their fill, and soon each found relief, whilst Charles his royal trencher piled from one huge loin of beef. Quoth Charles, "Odds fish, a noble dish, aye noble made by me. By kingly right I dub thee knight, Sirloin henceforward be." And never was a royal jest received with such acclaim, and never knight than good Sirloin, more worthy of the name. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lamb Child by John Bannister Tabb. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. When Christ the babe was born, full many a little lamb upon the wintry hills forlorn was nestled near its dam, and waking or asleep upon his mother's breast, for love of her each mother sheep and baby lamb he blessed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Merry Are the Bells by Mother Goose. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Merry are the bells, and merry would they ring. Merry was myself, and merry could I sing, with a merry ding-dong, happy, gay, and free, and a merry sing-song, happy let us be. Waddle goes your gait, and hollow are your hose. Noddle goes your pate, and purple is your nose. Merry is your sing-song, happy, gay, and free. With a merry ding-dong, happy let us be. Merry have we met, and merry have we been. Merry let us part, and merry meet again. With our merry sing-song, happy, gay, and free. With a merry ding-dong, happy let us be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Le Monocle de Mon Oncle by Wallace Stevens. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. August 10, 2025. Le Monocle de Mon Oncle. 1. Mother of heaven, Regina of the clouds, O sceptre of the sun, crown of the moon, there is not nothing, no, no, never nothing, like the clashed edges of two words that kill. And so I mocked her in magnificent measure. Or was it that I mocked myself alone? I wish that I might be a thinking stone. The sea of spuming thought foists up again the radiant bubble that she was, and then a deep uppouring from some saltier well within me bursts its watery syllable. 2. A red bird flies across the golden floor. It is a red bird that seeks out his choir among the choirs of wind and wet and wing. A torrent will fall from him when he finds. Shall I uncrumple this much crumpled thing? I am a man of fortune greeting airs, for it has come that thus I greet the spring. These choirs of welcome choir for me farewell. No spring can follow past meridian, yet you persist with anecdotal bliss to make believe a starry connaissance. 3. Is it for nothing then that old Chinese sat titivating by their mountain pools, or in the Yangtze studied out their beards? I shall not play the flat historic scale. You know how Udamaro's beauty sought the end of love in their all-speaking braids. You know the mountainous coiffures of Bath. Alas, have all the barbers lived in vain, that not one curl in nature has survived? Why, without pity on these studious ghosts, do you come dripping in your hair from sleep? For this luscious and impeccable fruit of life falls, it appears, of its own weight to earth. When you were Eve, its acrid juice was sweet, untasted in its heavenly orchard air. An apple serves as well as any skull to be the book in which to read around, and is as excellent in that it is composed of what, like skulls, comes rotting back to ground. But it excels in this, that as the fruit of love, it is a book too mad to read, before one merely reads to pass the time. 5. In the high west there burns a furious star. It is for fiery boys that star was set, and for sweet-smelling virgins close to them. The measure of the intensity of love is measure also of the verve of earth. For me, the firefly's quick electric stroke ticks tediously the time of one more year. And you, remember how the crickets came out of their mother grass like little kin, in the pale nights when your first imagery found inklings of your bond to all that dust. 6. If men at 40 will be painting lakes, the ephemeral blues must merge for them in one, the basic slate, the universal hue. There is a substance in us that prevails, but in our moors amorists discern such fluctuations that their scrivening is breathless to attend each quirky turn. When amorists grow bald, then amours shrink into the compass and curriculum of introspective exiles lecturing. It is a theme for hyacinth alone. 7. The mules that angels ride come slowly down the blazing passes from beyond the sun. Dissensions of their tinkling bells arrive. These muleteers are dainty of their way. Meantime, centurions guffaw and beat their shrilling tankards on the table boards. This parable, in sense, amounts to this: the honey of heaven may or may not come, but that of earth both comes and goes at once. Suppose these couriers brought amid their train a damsel heightened by eternal bloom. 8. Like a dull scholar, I behold, in love, an ancient aspect touching a new mind. It comes, it blooms, it bears its fruit and dies. This trivial trope reveals a way of truth. Our bloom is gone, we are the fruit thereof. 2 golden gourds distended on our vines. We hang like warty squashes, streaked and rayed, into the autumn weather, splashed but frost, distorted by hail fatness, turned grotesque. The laughing sky will see the 2 of us, washed into rinds by rotting winter rains. 9. In verses wild but motion, full of din, loudened by cries, by clashes, quick and sure, is the deadly thought of men accomplishing their curious fates in war. Come, celebrate the faith of 40, ward of Cupido. Most venerable heart, the lustiest conceit is not too lusty for your broadening. I quiz all sounds, all thoughts, all everything, for the music and manner of the paladins, to make oblation fit. Where shall I find bravura adequate to this great hymn? 10. The fops of fancy in their poems leave memorabilia of the mystic spouts, spontaneously watering their gritty soils. I am a yeoman, as such fellows go. I know no magic trees, no balmy boughs, no silver ruddy gold vermilion fruits, but after all I know a tree that bears a semblance to the thing I have in mind. It stands gigantic, with a certain tip, to which all birds come sometime in their time, but when they go that tip still tips the tree. 11. If sex were all, then every trembling hand could make us squeak like dolls the wished-for words. But note the unconscionable treachery of fate that makes us weep, laugh, grunt, and groan, and shout doleful heroics, pinching gestures forth, from madness or delight, without regard to that first foremost law. Anguishing hour! Last night we sat beside a pool of pink, clippered with lilies scudding the bright chromes, keen to the point of starlight, while a frog boomed from his very belly odious chords. 12. A blue pigeon it is that circles the blue sky, on sidelong wing, around and round and round. A white pigeon it is that flutters to the ground, grown tired of flight. Like a dark rabbi, I observed when young the nature of mankind. In lordly study, every day I found man proved a gobbet in my mincing world. Like a rose rabbi, later I pursued, and still pursue, the origin and course of love. But until now I never knew that fluttering things have so distinct a shade. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
New Year by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. New Year, I look straight in your eyes, our ways and our interests blend. You may be a foe in disguise, but I shall believe you a friend. We get what we give in our measure. We cannot give pain and get pleasure. I give you good will and good cheer, and you must return it, New Year. We get what we give in this life, though often the giver indeed waits long upon doubting and strife, ere proving the truth of my creed. But somewhere, some way, and forever, reward is the meed of endeavor. And if I am really worth while, New Year, you will give me your smile. You hide in your mystical hand no luck that I cannot control, if I trust my own courage and stand on the infinite strength of my soul. Man holds in his brain and his spirit a power that is godlike or near it, and he who has measured his force can govern events and their course. You come with a crown on your brow, New Year without blemish or spot, yet you and not I, sir, must bow, for time is a servant of thought. Whatever you bring me of trouble shall turn into good and then double, if my spirit looks up without fear to the source that you came from, New Year. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Old Man's Winter Night by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. All out of doors looked darkly in at him, through the thin frost, almost inseparate stars, that gathers on the pane in empty rooms. What kept his eyes from giving back the gaze was the lamp tilted near them in his hand. What kept him from remembering what it was that brought him to that creaking room was age. He stood with barrels round him, at a loss, and having scared the cellar under him in clomping there, he scared it once again in clomping off, and scared the outer night, which has its sounds, familiar, like the roar of trees and crack of branches, common things, but nothing so like beating on a box. A light he was to no one but himself, where now he sat, concerned with he knew what, a quiet light, then not even that. He consigned to the moon, such as she was, so late arising, to the broken moon as better than the sun in any case for such a charge, his snow upon the roof, his icicles along the wall to keep, and slept. The log that shifted with a jolt once in the stove disturbed him, and he shifted, and eased his heavy breathing, but still slept. One aged man, one man, can't fill a house, a farm, a countryside, or if he can, it's thus he does it of a winter night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Year by John Clare. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The old year's gone away to nothingness and night. We cannot find him all the day, nor hear him in the night. He left no footstep, mark, or place in either shade or sun. The last year he'd a neighbour's face, in this he's known by none. All nothing everywhere, mists we on mornings see, have more of substance when they're here, and more of form than he. He was a friend by every fire, in every cot and hall, a guest to every heart's desire, and now he's naught at all. Old papers thrown away, old garments cast aside, the talk of yesterday are things identified, but time once torn away no voices can recall. The eve of New Year's Day left the old year lost to all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On W.L.'s Recovery from a Fever by Mary Leadbeater. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Hail, thou returning year, for ne'er so brightly smiled this annual day, and never let my joyous heart the grateful tribute cease to pay. For on this day my partner dear, the father of my infant train, the tender husband of my love, lifts up his head in hope again. Has from the jaws of death redeemed, and raging Febris put to flight, so peaceful beams the balmy morn, after a long tempestuous night. Ah me, what anguish racked thy frame! Ah me, what tortures tore my heart, while glided on the awful hours, with threatening view that we must part. I looked around, but comfort fled, the flatterer hope I strove to shun. How hard to keep the quiet state, how hard to say, thy will be done. While spasms convulsive stretched the nerves, fierce throbs the manly bosom tore, high glowed the cheek, wild rolled the eyes, in humid sweetness bathed no more. Then patience, meek, celestial guest, her sacred influence sweetly proved, and constant then, midst every pain, thy friends, thy consort, were beloved. 'Twas then was tried thy kindred's love, 'twas then thy faithful friends were tried. Then Paeon's sons displayed their lore, and stepped with nature side by side. And oh, may you, who shared our pain, whose hearts with ours responsive beat, what more can gratitude desire? Like love, like skill, like friendship meet. End of poem. This recording is in public domain.
Our Father's Business by Dinah Craik. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Holman Hunt's picture of Christ in the Temple. O Christ child, everlasting Holy One, sufferer of all the sorrow of this world, Redeemer of the sin of all this world, who by thy death broughtest life into this world, O Christ, hear us. This is thou. No idle painter's dream of aureoled imaginary Christ, laden with attributes that make not God, but Jesus, Son of Mary, lowly, wise, obedient, subject unto parents mild, meek as the meek that shall inherit earth, pure as the pure in heart that shall see God. O infinitely human, yet divine, half clinging childlike to the mother found, yet half repelling, as the soft eyes say, How is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business? As in the temple's splendor mystical, earth's wisdom hearkening to the all-wise one, earth's closest love clasping the all-loving one. He sees far off the vision of the cross, the Christ-like glory, and the Christ-like doom. Messiah, elder brother, priest and king, the Son of God, and yet the woman's seed. Enterer within the veil, victor of death, and made to us first fruits of them that sleep, Saviour and intercessor, Judge and Lord. All that we know of thee, or knowing not, love only, waiting till the perfect time when we shall know, even as we are known. O thou child Jesus, thou dost seem to say, by the soft silence of these heavenly eyes, that rose out of the depths of nothingness upon this limner's reverent soul and hand, we too should be about our Father's business. O Christ, hear us. Have mercy on us, Jesus Christ our Lord. The cross thou borest still is hard to bear, and awful even to humblest follower, the little that thou givest each to do of this thy Father's business, whether it be temptation by the devil of the flesh, or long-linked years of lingering toil obscure, uncomforted save by the solemn rests on mountain-tops of solitary prayer, oft ending in the supreme sacrifice, the putting off of all garments of delight, and taking sorrow's kingly crown of thorn, in crucifixion of all self to thee, who offeredst up thyself for all the world. O Christ, hear us. Our Father's business unto us is thee, the whole which this earth life, this handbreadth span out of our everlasting life that lies hidden with thee in God, can ask or need. Outweighing all that heap of petty woes, to us a measure huge, which angels blow out of the balance of our total lot, as zephyrs blow the winged dust away. O thou who wert the child of Nazareth, make us see only this, and only thee, who camest but to do thy Father's will, and didst delight to do it. Take thou then our bitterness of loss, aspirings vain, and anguishes of unfulfilled desire, our joys imperfect, our sublimed despairs, our hopes, our dreams, our wills, our loves, our all, and cast them into the great crucible in which the whole earth, slowly purified, runs molten and shall run, the will of God. O Christ, hear us. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Retaliation, a poem, by Oliver Goldsmith. Read for LibriVox.org by Beeswaxcandle. Of old, when Scarron his companions invited, each guest brought his dish, and the feast was united. If our landlord supplies us with beef and with fish, let each guest bring himself, and he brings the best dish. Our Dean shall be venison, just fresh from the plains. Our Burke shall be tongue, with a garnish of brains. Our Will shall be wild fowl, of excellent flavour, and Dick with his pepper shall heighten their savour. Our Cumberland's sweet bread its place shall obtain, and Douglas's pudding substantial and plain. Our Garrick's a salad, for in him we see oil, vinegar, sugar, and saltness agree. To make out the dinner, full certain I am that Ridge's anchovy and Reynolds is lamb, that Hickey's a capon, and by the same rule, magnanimous Goldsmith, a gooseberry fool. At a dinner so various, at such a repast, who'd not be a glutton and stick to the last? Here, waiter, more wine, let me sip while I'm able, till all my companions sink under the table. Then, with chaos and blunders encircling my head, let me ponder, and tell what I think of the dead. Here lies the good Dean, reunited to earth, who mixed reason with pleasure, and wisdom with mirth. If he had any faults, he has left us in doubt, At least in 6 weeks I could not find 'em out. Yet some have declared, and it cannot be denied 'em, that Slyboots was cursedly cunning to hide 'em. Here lies our good Edmund, whose genius was such, we scarcely can praise it, or blame it too much, who born for the universe narrowed his mind, and to party gave up what was meant for mankind. Though fraught with all learning, kept straining his throat, to persuade Tommy Townsend to lend him a vote, who, too deep for his hearers, still went on refining, and thought of convincing, while they thought of dining. Though equal to all things, for all things unfit, too nice for a statesman, too proud for a wit, for a patriot too cool, for a drudge disobedient, and too fond of the right to pursue the expedient. In short, 'twas his fate, unemployed or in place, sir, to eat mutton cold and cut blocks with a razor. Here lies honest William, whose heart was a mint, while the owner ne'er knew half the good that was in't. The pupil of impulse, it forced him along, his conduct still right, with his argument wrong. Still aiming at honour, yet fearing to roam, the coachman was tipsy, the chariot drove home. Would you ask for his merits? Alas, he had none. What was good was spontaneous, his faults were his own. Here lies honest Richard, whose fate I must sigh at. Alas, that such frolic should now be so quiet. What spirits were his, what wit and what whim, now breaking a jest, and now breaking a limb, now wrangling and grumbling to keep up the ball, now teasing and vexing, yet laughing at all. In short, so provoking a devil was Dick, that we wished him full 10 times a day at old Nick. But missing his mirth and agreeable vein, as often we wished to have Dick back again. Here Cumberland lies, having acted his parts, the Terence of England, the mender of hearts, a flattering painter who made it his care to draw men as they ought to be, not as they are. His gallants are all faultless, his women divine, and comedy wonders at being so fine. Like a tragedy queen he has dizened her out, or rather like tragedy, giving a rout. His fools have their follies so left in a crowd of virtues and feelings that folly grows proud, and coxcombs alike in their failings alone, adopting his portraits, are pleased with their own. Say, where has our poet this malady caught, or whereof his characters thus without fault? Say, was it that vainly directing his view to find out men's virtues, and finding them few, quite sick of pursuing each troublesome elf, he grew lazy at last, and drew from himself? Here Douglas retires from his toils to relax, the scourge of impostors, the terror of quacks. Come all ye quack bards, and ye quacking divines, come and dance on the spot where your tyrant reclines, where satire and censure encircled his throne. I feared for your safety, I feared for my own. But now he is gone, and we want a detector. Our Dodds shall be pious, our Kenricks shall lecture. Macpherson write bombast and call it a style. Our Townsend make speeches, and I shall compile. New Lauders and Bowers the Tweed shall cross over, no countryman living their tricks to discover. Detection her taper shall quench to a spark, and Scotchman meet Scotchman, and cheat in the dark. Here lies David Garrick, describe me who can, an abridgment of all that was pleasant in man. As an actor, confessed without rival to shine, as a wit, if not first, in the very first line. Yet with talents like these and an excellent heart, the man had his feelings, a dupe to his art. Like an ill judge in beauty his colours he spread, and beplasted with rouge his own natural red. On the stage he was natural, simple, affecting. 'Twas only that, when he was off, he was acting. With no reason on earth to go out of his way, he turned and he varied full 10 times a day. The secure of our hearts, yet confoundedly sick, if they were not his own, by finessing and trick. He cast off his friends as a huntsman his pack, for he knew when he pleased he could whistle them back. Of praise a mere glutton, he swallowed what came, and the puff of a dunce he mistook it for fame, till his relish grown callous almost to disease, who peppered the highest was surest to please. But let us be candid, and speak out our mind. If dunces applauded, he paid them in kind. Ye Kenricks, ye Kellys, and Woodfalls so grave, what a commerce was yours while you got and you gave? How did Grub Street re-echo the shouts that you raised, while he was berossied and you were bepraised? But's peace to his spirit, wherever it flies, to act as an angel and mix with the skies. Those poets who owe their best fame to his skill shall still be his flatterers, go where he will. Old Shakespeare, receive him with praise and with love, and Beaumonts and Bens be his Kellys above. Here Hickey reclines, a most blunt, pleasant creature, and slander itself must allow him good nature. He cherished his friend, and he relished a bumper, yet one fault he had, and that one was a thumper. Perhaps you may ask if that man was a miser. I answer, no, no, for he always was wiser. Too courteous, perhaps, or obligingly flat. His very worst foe can't accuse him of that. Perhaps he confided in men as they go, and so was too foolishly honest. Ah, no. Then what was his failing? Come tell it and burn ye. He was, could he help it, a special attorney. Here Reynolds is laid, and to tell you my mind, he has not left a better or wiser behind. His pencil was striking, resistless and grand. His manners were gentle, complying and bland. Still born to improve us in every part, his pencil our faces, his manners our heart. To coxcombs averse, yet most civilly staring, when they judged without skill, he was still hard of hearing. When they talked of their Raphaels, Correggios, and stuff, he shifted his trumpet, and only took snuff. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ring Out Wild Bells by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Kachuk. Ring out wild bells to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let him die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause, and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life, with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out, my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Signs of Christmas by Edwin Lees, recorded for LibriVox.org by Aaron Sproule. When on the barn's thatched roof is seen the moss and tufts of liveliest green, when Roger to the woodpile goes, and as he turns his fingers blows, when all around is cold and drear, be sure the Christmas tide is near. When up the garden walk in vain we seek for Flora's lovely train, when the sweet hawthorn bower is bare, and bleak and cheerless is the air. When all seems desolate around, Christmas advances o'er the ground. When Tom at eve comes home from plough, and brings the mistletoe's green bough, with milk-white berries spotted o'er, and shakes it the sly maids before, then hangs the trophy up on high, be sure that Christmas tide is nigh. When Hal the woodman in his clogs bears home the huge unwieldy logs, that, hissing on the smouldering fire, flame out at last a quivering spire. When in his hat the holly stands, old Christmas musters up his bands. When clustered round the fire at night, old William talks of ghost and sprite, and, as a distant outhouse gate slams by the wind, they fearful wait, while some each shadowy nook explore. Then Christmas pauses at the door. When Dick comes shivering from the yard, and says the pond is frozen hard, while from his hat, all white with snow, the moisture trickling drops below, while carols sound the night to cheer, then Christmas and his train are here. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
So Where He Reigns by Branwell Bronte. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. So where he reigns in glory bright, above those starry skies of night, amid his paradise of light, oh, why may I not be? Oft when awake on Christmas morn, in sleepless twilight laid forlorn, strange thoughts have o'er my mind been borne, how he has died for me. And oft within my chamber lying, have I awaked myself with crying, from dreams where I beheld him dying upon the accursed tree. And often, as my mother said, while on her lap I laid my head, she feared for time I was not made, but for eternity. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sugar Plum Tree by Eugene Field. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Have you ever heard of the sugar plum tree? 'Tis a marvel of great renown. It blooms on the shores of the Lollipop Sea, in the garden of Shut-Eye Town. The fruit that it bears is so wondrously sweet, as those who have tasted it say, that good little children have only to eat of that fruit to be happy next day. When you've got to the tree, you would have a hard time to capture the fruit which I sing. The tree is so tall that no person could climb to the boughs where the sugar plums swing. But up in that tree sits a chocolate cat, and a gingerbread dog prowls below. And this is the way you contrive to get at those sugar plums tempting you so. You say but the word to that gingerbread dog, and he barks with such terrible zest that the chocolate cat is at once all agog, as her swelling proportions attest. And the chocolate cat goes cavorting around from this leafy limb unto that, and the sugar plums tumble of course to the ground. Hurrah for that chocolate cat! There are marshmallows, gumdrops, and peppermint canes, with stripings of scarlet or gold, and you carry away of the treasure that rains as much as your apron can hold. So come, little child, cuddle closer to me, in your dainty white nightcap and gown, and I'll rock you away in that sugar plum tree, in the garden of Shut-Eye Town. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Tiger by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer? What the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil? What dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears, and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? And did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Friend on Her Marriage by Mary Leadbeater. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Joyful rise the glistening morn, swift the white-winged minutes move. Nature smiles the hour adorn, William gains his plighted love. She, whose image from his heart, while her graceful form unseen, time and distance joined to part, and the Atlantic flowed between. Vainly flowed the Atlantic wave, time and distance joined in vain. Love can every danger brave, true love will unchanged remain. Let me hail thee, gentle bride, for my conscious heart has proved soft the band which friendship tied, sweet to love and to be loved. To the scenes our childhood loved, traced by memory's wistful eye, oft has pensive fancy roved, and awaked the tender sigh. Sweet companions of those hours, oft on them our thoughts shall dwell, how they bloomed like vernal flowers, how like vernal flowers they fell. Transient thus all temporal good, let the mortal spirit press for the soul-sustaining food, which shall every blessing bless. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the Sylphs by Mary Leadbeater. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Soft, airy guardians of the fair, who watch o'er virtue's calm repose, hither, ye busy Sylphs, repair, while Stella's eyes in slumbers close. These eyes, which through the active day around their cheering influence threw, now bright with genius' vivid ray, now dimmed with pity's sacred dew, compose that sweetly anxious breast, which different duties strongly move, nor be that feeling mind distressed, twixt filial and fraternal love. But where the sleeping fair one lies, may brightest visions round her play, and ever let these beaming eyes unclose upon a happy day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The True Christmas by Henry Vaughan. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. The True Christmas. So stick up ivy and the bays, and then restore the heathen ways. Green will remind you of the spring, though this great day denies the thing and mortifies the earth. and all, but your wild revels and loose hall. Could you wear flowers and roses strow, blushing upon your breasts warm snow, that very dress your lightness will rebuke, and wither at the ill. The brightness of this day we owe, not unto music, mask, nor show, nor gallant furniture, nor plate, but to the manger's mean estate. His life while here, as well as birth, was but a check to pomp and mirth, and all man's greatness you may see, condemned by his humility. Then leave your open house and noise, to welcome him with holy joys. And the poor shepherd's watchfulness, whom light and hymns from heaven did bless, what you abound with, cast abroad to those that want, and ease your load. Who empties thus will bring more in, but riot is both loss and sin. Dress finely what comes not in sight, and then you keep your Christmas right. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Unto Us a Son is Given by Alice Meynell. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Given, not lent, and not withdrawn, once sent, this infant of mankind, this one, is still the little welcome Son. New every year, newborn and newly dear, he comes with tidings and a song. The ages long, the ages long. Even as the cold, keen winter grows not old, as childhood is so fresh, foreseen, and spring in the familiar green. Sudden as sweet come the expected feet, all joy is young and new all art, and he too whom we have by heart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
While Shepherds Watched Their Flocks by Night by Margaret Deland. Read for LibriVox.org. Like small curled feathers, white and soft, the little clouds went by, across the moon and past the stars and down the western sky. In upland pastures where the grass with frosted dew was white, like snowy clouds the young sheep lay that first best Christmas night. The shepherds slept, and glimmering faint with twist of thin blue smoke, only their fire's crackling flames the tender silence broke, save when a young lamb raised his head, or when the night wind blew, a nesting bird would softly stir where dusky olives grew. With finger on her solemn lip, night hushed the shadowy earth, and only stars and angels saw the little Saviour's birth. Then came such flash of silver light across the bending skies, the wondering shepherds woke and hid their frightened, dazzled eyes, and all their gentle, sleepy flock looked up, then slept again, nor knew the light that dimmed the stars brought endless peace to men, nor even heard the gracious words that down the ages ring. The Christ is born, the Lord has come, goodwill on earth to bring. Then o'er the moonlit, misty fields, dumb with the world's great joy, the shepherds sought the white-walled town where lay the baby boy. And oh, the gladness of the world, the glory of the skies, because the longed-for Christ looked up in Mary's happy eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A White Curtain Turning in an Open Window by Charles Reznikoff. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. A white curtain turning in an open window, a swan dipping a white neck in the tree's shadow, hardly beating the water with golden feet. Sorrow before her was gone, like noise from a street, snow falling. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Winter Solstice by Harold Monroe, read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. While they, those primitive men, were sacrificing all their fruits away, nevertheless the sun smoldered, and earlier sank each icy day, until at last his rays were so curtailed, and they were driven back so far and dark, that all began to think he might have failed. In air they raised their gnarled and muscled arms, laying upon the troubled plain gigantic shadows, shrieking their alarms, invoking him, that only he remain, though all the while that old and regular sun gleamed on their frightened face, nor changed the purpose he had well begun. At length, when they discovered he was true, that tortured season where he seems to go drowsing himself away in lemon blue under the earth, so low, became no more a bleak lament for him, but a large feast to glorify the right, the clean recapture of his former light. We learn to flock together from the cold, and mingle in the glow of rooms in which his captured gold provides ecstatic overflow, while memory can guess plain-dutied earth outside and in the dark is thrusting clumsy sap through stubborn clay, and nearly could one hark their crackling talk, one might discern the birth of leaves and daffodils, and such as they. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Words for Departure by Louise Bergen. Read for LibriVox.org by Beeswaxcandle. Nothing was remembered, nothing forgotten. When we awoke, wagons were passing on the warm summer pavements. The window sills were wet from rain of the night. Birds scattered and settled over chimney pots, as among grotesque trees. Nothing was accepted, nothing looked beyond. Slight-voiced bells separated hour from hour. The afternoon sifted coolness, and people drew together in streets becoming deserted. There was a moon and light in a shop front, and dusk falling like precipitous water. Hand clasped hand, forehead still bowed to forehead. Nothing was lost, nothing possessed. There was no gift or denial. 2. I have remembered you. You were not the town visited once, nor the road falling behind running feet. You were as awkward as flesh, and lighter than frost or ashes. You were the rind and the white-juiced apple, the song and the words waiting for music. 3. You have learned the beginning. Go from mine to the other. Be together. Eat, dance, despair, sleep, be threatened, endure. You will know the way of that. But at the end, be insolent. Be absurd. Strike the thing short off. Be mad. Only do not let talk wear the bloom from silence. And go away without fire or lantern. Let there be some uncertainty about your departure. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When the Year Grows Old by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. I cannot but remember when the year grows old, October, November, how she disliked the cold. She used to watch the swallows go down across the sky and turn from the window with a sharp little sigh. And often, when the brown leaves were brittle on the ground, and the wind in the chimney made a melancholy sound, she had a look about her that I wish I could forget, the look of a scared thing sitting in a net. Oh, beautiful at nightfall the soft spitting snow, and beautiful the bare boughs rubbing to and fro, But the roaring of the fire, and the warmth of fur, and the boiling of the kettle were beautiful to her. I cannot but remember when the year grows old, October, November, how she disliked the cold. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.